living severed hands. They're everywhere, from Adam's Family through Waxworks, Evil Dead, Return of the Living Dead, and then back to Adam's Family, I guess? Yeah, that's about right. Hello, my name is Grzegorz and welcome to Homemade Specials, where I'm trying to recreate classic practical special effects using regular household materials. And today we're gonna be making a severed human hand that walks on its own using a plaster bandage like this, and of course some silicone and probably some other stuff. You know how it is, I make this stuff up as I go. Now I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have already shaved my forearm and the palm. Not sure if it was necessary, but I don't want the hair to get stuck in the plaster, which would hurt. And I also don't want the hair to get imprinted in the mold. I don't think it's gonna be that detailed anyway, but I didn't wanna risk it. Better safe than sorry, right? So now I'm gonna cut this plaster bandage into stripes of different sizes. I have to cut enough of them for the whole mold, because once I start I will have just one hand operatable, so it's gonna be hard to cut more of those stripes. Now I'm gonna carefully cover my forearm with Vaseline so that the plaster doesn't stick to it. Okay, I feel all slippery. It should be alright like that. Next step, take the bigger piece of a plaster bandage, soak it in water and apply it onto the hand. I've never worked with this stuff, so I hope I'm not gonna botch it. I'm gonna smooth it nicely. Take another bigger piece. Now the idea here is to make this mold in two separate stages, two parts separately, because I don't think I'll be able to make a clean cut. I can already feel it curing, drying, it's getting harder, stiffer. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah, I think I got enough of those plasters, bandage stripes. Hopefully I won't have to cut any more of them. So I've waited about half an hour and it seems cured. And it seems to be coming off already, so now I'm gonna try to get my palm out of it without completely breaking it. Yeah, it's coming out. Yeah. What does it look like? Kinda bad, but yeah, there are some details. Here I can see my fingernails. I can see, you probably won't be able to see it, I can see some wrinkles on the knuckles. I'm not going to be even using the palm, so why do I care? And of course I should have used a lot more bandage. The whole thing is very wobbly and fragile, but don't worry, I still believe I'll be able to fix it with a regular wall plaster. Yeah, I think I have the right thickness. Let's put it back on just to give it a proper position. And yeah, let's start with the biggest cracks. I think the spoon is a right tool to apply it. It seems to be working fine. Now I am planning this video to be the first part of a 3-part series that will cover a much more complicated theme than I usually do. It will be complied out of 3 different effects, all of them being basically a living hand, but using a different approach for different type of shots. And I don't even need a palm for this part. I'm just gonna need a forearm this time. But I decided to make the whole hand at once, just so I have the opportunity to train, to learn how to work with this plaster. So if I ruin the palm, I'm not even gonna worry about it this time. I'm gonna do it again in another video. But if I manage to get it right this time, then yeah, I'm gonna use the same mold for the next video. Ain't that smart? Seems pretty solid. So let's clean the edges a bit. So now, as you can see, I'm using the same plaster to fix all the cracks and holes inside of my mold. And once I'm at it, I think I can also use this plaster to fix the edge and smooth it even more. Let's try and sand down those edges a bit. No, I'm not really sure about this next step, because I'm worried about losing all those nice details. But I need to make my mold, how do you say it? Not even waterproof, liquid proof. Basically, I don't want it to absorb any liquids. So I'm gonna cover it with oil later on. So I have to paint it. But the paint is pretty thin. And I'm really hoping to keep all those juicy details visible. Yeah, I know you can see it, but the wrinkles here on the fingers around the knuckles are really nicely articulated in this cast, and it would be so nice to see them on the final silicone what? On the hand, on the hand that I'm gonna cast from this mold. Okay, let's do the second mold. Am I even in the frame? Barely. I have cut down the entire bandage I had left, so it has to be enough this time. Okay, let's try and get myself out of this thing. Okay, it seems to be coming off. Try not to damage it. Yes. Yes, I think I got it. What does it look like? Pretty fine, I guess. I'm gonna use the same plaster to generally enforce the edges of the second mold. And of course, I've made way too much plaster, so in the end I decided to cover pretty much the whole thing with it. Now it's very, very secure. So it's time to oil it up a bit, paint it with oil, regular edible oil, to prevent the silicone from sticking to it. It's important to get this oil in all the holes and crevices. I'm afraid that the silicone may simply tear if I try to pull it out, and it's glued, basically glued to the mold. Nice and shiny. I got my fingers covered in oil as well, so it doesn't stick to my fingers. And now I'm gonna try and spread it all over the mold. Now, as you can see, I'm not really finishing up the edges yet, because I'm kind of worried the silicone will cure before I manage to cover the other half. So I will add some silicone to the edges at the very end. Okay, so finally let's cover the edges thoroughly so that both halves stick together, glued together. And now let's close it down and keep our fingers crossed. I got a bad feeling about this, but let's open it up and see this monstrosity. Oops. I think it's opening, but I don't think it's gonna be usable after this. Almost there. I should probably break it apart. Okay, that doesn't look so good. A lot of holes. Few fingers practically fell apart, but maybe I'll be able to fix them. First I will have to clean it up and see if it's salvageable. The mold practically fell apart, which is sad because I was planning to reuse it. But yeah, for the first attempt, maybe it's not that bad. Okay, so I washed it up and it doesn't look good. Obviously I didn't distribute the silicone evenly, which left a lot of holes and surface imperfections. But at the same time it doesn't look bad. I mean, wherever I did put enough silicone, the texture is really nice. I mean, the level of detail transferred onto the silicone is just amazing. So I believe this technique can work. I just need to put a little more effort into it. But as I said, I don't even need it for this video, so I'm gonna toss it aside for now. And I decided to fix the old mold. I mean, only the forearm part, because that's the only part I'm gonna need, and it wasn't completely ruined. I put a little plaster on it, sanded it down, applied 2 coats of paint, so it's like extra shiny now. I hope it won't absorb the oil this time as it did before. And now I'm going to try to use it again to form just a part of a forearm. Wish me luck. For some reason I did not record making this part, but as you can see I decided to leave the hole around the wrist area where my hand will come through, and since I'm gonna be pulling by that part quite strongly, I decided to reinforce it with a piece of string. Yeah, I'm showing it to you right now and putting it back in place because I'm mad that I didn't hit record as I was doing it. But yeah, there's a string buried in the silicone here. Oh, now you see, I shouldn't have touched it. But then you wouldn't know about the string. I was quite worried the last time. I'm actually pretty excited this time. I don't know why, but I'm much more hopeful that it's gonna work. Yes. It's tearing. It's not good. Yeah, I got it out. It looks terrible again, and there are tiny holes over here, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to fix them. The main question is, will I be able to put my hand in this hole without tearing it all apart? Maybe let's get my hands slippery with oil. Yeah, let's try to get it in. Yes! Nice! I think it's gonna work. Look. So the issues are piling up. For some reason I can't get rid of this black paint that got, well, much more on the upper side than on the lower side. I don't know why it doesn't want to come off. It did so easily on the previous one, and now it seems like the only way to get rid of them is to literally scratch them off with my fingernail, which isn't a very efficient technique. Plus I've managed to ruin the surface already. I wonder if it's visible. Yeah, you see? Trying to get rid of this paint with this sponge. Never use this hard side, only use the soft side. So now I'm gonna try and smooth it out and cover all the imperfections with silicone. But first I think I could cut off all the excess silicone and see what the seam looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. I think I got too deep here. Yeah, I'm gonna fix this hole, don't worry. I just think it's easier to fill the holes than to cover the bumps. So, yeah. I'd rather cut out too much than too little. And now let's see if I can fix this botched surface. Now it looks even worse. But now I'm gonna cover my finger with oil. Maybe it will allow me to smooth it out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. And of course, same treatment for the seam. Let's face it, it's not gonna get any better than this. Maybe paint job will help smooth it out a bit. Those of you who watches this channel regularly probably know how bad I am at painting and matching colors. But I really want this hand to look a bit more like my hand. And I think my hand is a bit brighter and more yellowish. I hope my lever is fine. So I'm gonna try and mix some white silicone with a yellow paint and nitro universal paint thinner, hoping to create like a thin, very thin and very bright yellowish paint that will hopefully allow me to maybe not entirely paint but kind of stain the pinkish beige silicone so that it matches the hue, the color of my skin better. I don't know, it will probably require a few more layers of different hues, but yeah, let's continue with the yellow even if it's too yellow, because I think it's doing a pretty decent job in smoothing all the surface imperfections. Yeah, it's a bit pale now, but with all the fake blood and whatnot, I think it's gonna look perfect. Okay, so as usual I've spent hours mixing and matching different hues and I give up. I will never make it look like my hand, probably because my hand changes colors depending on what it does and a lot of other different factors. I believe I'll be able to use makeup to blend it together nicely later on, but now I'd like to make it a bit more realistic, so I'm gonna try and glue some hair onto it. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, because most glues don't stick to silicone. The glue didn't work at all, so I tried again using a transparent silicone, and that worked. Maybe even too good, I suppose. I'm still not sure about it, but we'll see. Now I'm gonna use a watch to hide the seam between the silicone with the fake arm and my real arm. And now I'm gonna try and use some makeup to bring the colors closer to each other. Now I bought most of the stuff in a pound shop, or what you would call a dollar shop, so it's off brand, but I hope it will work. Right? Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I think the colors match pretty nice, right? What do you guys think? Will it work? Maybe I should make this arm a bit more red, because actually my hand is quite red here and there. Let's see what the lipstick will do. And now, since there are also green and blue hues over here, I'd like to try and paint a vein or two, since my hands are pretty veiny. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a pretty nice vein. Difficult parts done. Now it's gonna be easy. First, I need to prepare kind of a wire frame that will support the hand from the inside and also allows me to install a few additional mechanics, details, elements in the hand. So yeah, I'm gonna start by forming two rings out of a metal wire. Rings that I'll be able to put inside the forearm. Well, I'm trying to measure them out on my own arm. I'm not sure if it's such a good idea, but I don't have any better. Now I'd like to use this wire frame to install the bones inside the forearm, because there are two bones right here. I don't know the name of those bones, but I would like them to stick out, and for that I'm gonna use a chicken bone. First, let's cut it in half. Maybe I'll even try to break it at the end to, oh yeah, to have a nice natural rugged edge. That's beautiful. And now I'm gonna drill holes at the thick ends of my bones. And now I'm gonna drive a piece of steel wire through both of those bones and connect them to my wire frame. And I also want my hand to bleed, so I'm gonna take another piece of wire and wrap it tightly around this thin rubber tube. It's used for IVs. You can buy it in any drugstore. It's really cheap. And yeah, I'm gonna use the same technique as before to attach it to the wire frame. And now I'm gonna cover all that with a piece of fabric that I will simply stitch to the wire frame. Not really caring about the quality of the stitch, of course, because it's all gonna be covered anyway. And finally, I just have to cover all this with red silicone. And as always, I got some oil here so that the silicone doesn't stick to my fingers. And I'm gonna just smooth it out. Now to make my hand walk, I'm gonna use my favorite draw table and a large piece of rather thick cardboard. This is gonna be a hole through which my hand and I'm gonna cover that with a piece of floor lining, and now I'm gonna cut a hole through that like this, so that your hand can fit through it but also cover it from the top. So, does it work? I think it does. I mean, you gotta be careful, because yeah, sometimes the hole in the floor is visible from underneath the hand. Sometimes the edges of the silicone come out from underneath the watch, and you gotta squeeze them underneath there. Also, it would be nice to have a makeup artist on set, just to keep the colors of the skin and silicone under control. In my case, I think I nailed it in few shots. In few other shots, it's completely off. But yeah, the hand can walk, it can turn around, although you need to cut a separate smaller hole for that. It can even emote or communicate using a very simple sign language, and it bleeds beautifully. So if you think this effect has any potential, please give a like, maybe even hit that subscribe and that notifications button so that you won't miss the next video in which we're going to use this cast to build a fully mechanical living severed hand that will be used in a wider shots. That's it for today, and of course, have a great day!